This video actually resonates with me a lot, and a lot of these videos do. But this is actually a personal story of how I was lonely and how I overcame my loneliness and what you can do as well. In grade 9 and grade 10, so this is when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old. I was extremely lonely. In my ninth grade, or in my quote unquote freshman year, I didn't have any friends. I moved to this new school. A lot of the people were a lot different from the people that I knew back at my old area where I lived. And as a result, I didn't really make any friends. I would go to eat lunch, and I would have nobody to eat with. And when I would be walking back from school, I would try to not get noticed because I thought everybody else was gonna think that I'm a loner. Even though realistically, nobody really even cares you that much about you that much. In grade 10, I did online schooling because I had surgery on my back because I had scoliosis. I got spinal surgery, so instead I did online schooling for that year. That made me so lonely. My sleep schedule was messed up, and the only friends that I had were the friends from before I even moved to this new house. And I would talk to them over video games or over online. And the worst thing about having these friends is that they're not on the same thing that you're on. They don't share the exact same goals. And that's the thing. The worst part about having these friends is that they don't align with everything that you align with. So you kind of, even though they're your friends, even though you see them like once every few months, you still feel lonely. Now, of course, this is different because I'm making new friends. I'm making newer friends who actually align with my purpose, and now I don't feel lonely anymore. So that's why it's so important to have a sense of brotherhood in your life. A lot of you guys don't have this, and this is the reason why you're lonely. You don't have friends which completely align with everything that you're on, and you don't want to drop these friends. Bro, in order to become a better person overall, you have to drop these friends. And I've said this so many times in my other videos as well, bro. These friends are the only thing that are keeping you lonely, are the only thing that are keeping you down, and the only thing that are keeping you away from these goals. The type of energy that you get surrounded by when you're around these guys who consider as like almost like your brothers, bro. Like that type of energy is so good. It's so beneficial when you believe the same thing that they believe. When you have the same goals with them, bro, it becomes so much easier to accomplish this stuff. Now, this is the most beneficiary thing because you're alone, so you need people to surround you. This is obviously very logical. Now you're being surrounded by these guys who you barely even consider as your friends. You're just with them because you have some kind of like social interaction with them. You share something in common like video games or whatever. Even though video games are bad for you, you interact with them through video games. That's what's keeping you down. The fact that you interact through video games and not IRL is keeping you at a very low level. Anyways, when you're around these other people who actually share the same goals as you, who you can actually consider as like very good friends, like you have a brotherhood with them, this entire aspect of loneliness goes away. Now, the next thing that really helped me like with my loneliness was the fact that I knew that there was always somebody who was less fortunate than me. You're living in a heated home. You're living in a house with running tap water. If you're watching this video, you have access to water, most likely. You're probably living in a house which has air conditioning. You live in a house where you can, wash your clothes. You can take a shower. Just look at how blessed you are. Just look at how blessed your life is. You're not really that alone, bro. There's people who are more lonely than you. And you have to keep in mind that that's the case. You have to keep in mind that there's always somebody who's more lonely than you, who's in a worse living situation than you. And that guy is still getting by. That should be your motivation. The only thing that kept me going back in winter of 2021 was knowing that there was a person who was less fortunate than me. Because I didn't really have a reason to feel lonely. I literally didn't. Like whenever I think about these guys, like these guys are extremely lonely. They live in their own like secluded village in these remote areas or whatever. So when I think about these guys, I literally think, yo, I have no right to be lonely. I have no right to be lonely. Why am I sad? Why do I feel like this? I literally don't have a right to feel sad right now. Because I'm inside of my heated home. I have this camera which I'm talking to right now. I have water. If I want to go get water right now, I can drink water. If I want to even talk to somebody, I can still talk to somebody. You have to think about these things. And you're going to realize that you don't really have a right to feel lonely right now. Of course, that thought will still kind of linger in your mind. But it will greatly suppress the thought. And you'll become a much more disciplined person. And now the last thing that I want to talk about is to not dwell on the thought that you're lonely or you're sad or whatever, bro. Never dwell on that thought. Never ever do. Because in my personal experience, whenever I used to dwell on this thought, oh yeah, I'm so lonely, it would make me even more sad. Back then in like 2022, September, October, November 2022, which is pretty recently, I felt lonely. But the thing was that I didn't dwell on that thought that, oh yeah, I'm so lonely. I didn't dwell on the thought. And that's what kept me from not going to the level of loneliness that I was in back in like 2020 or 2021. Because I didn't dwell on the thought. Back in 2020 and 2021, when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, I used to dwell on the thought. I would be like, yo, why am I so lonely? I'll just, no, for no reason, just like complain about it all the time or feel sad about it all the time, think about it all the time, bro. Have something that keeps your mind off of it. That's the way, bro. All these things, all these three things will make you a much more mentally tough person. You need to stop dwelling on that thought. Oh yeah, I'm so lonely, I'm so lonely. Okay, so what? Because there are better days ahead, bro. You're gonna find these friends. You're gonna eventually find people who actually share the same goals as you, who share the same beliefs as you, bro. So why would you do this if it just affects your entire kind of sort of discipline? You're becoming a less disciplined person because of the fact that you choose to think about this stuff all the time. You need to stop thinking about it and actually think about what matters. Your goals, your aspirations, your beliefs, your religion. You need to think about all of these things. Working out. All of these things are so much more important to think about than just being like, oh yeah, I'm so lonely. Who cares? Work on what matters. Don't think about that stuff. Sure, you might feel a little bit lonely, but don't dwell on it. Sure, it might be just a feeling, but don't think about it for 1, 2, 3 hours every single night. All of these three things are gonna really make you a lot more disciplined. And this problem is in so many people nowadays, especially men, bro. So many men nowadays, especially with this like internet and all this stuff, bro. So many of you guys feel lonely, and that's why I'm making this video, because I know that there's so many people like you guys. There's so many people who are in my position. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up there. My name is JBM. Focus on your goals. Stay disciplined. Take care. Peace.